They report the chaos. We reveal the agenda.
Good evening and welcome to ATM. For decades, the older generations have lectured, promising solutions to global challenges. They've made grand promises about a sustainable future, yet consistently delayed meaningful action. This inaction has led to a critical point, leaving a profound legacy for the generations that follow. And now they've left a storm of escalating climate catastrophe, where environmental degradation threatens our very existence. A storm of pervasive economic injustice, creating vast disparities and hardship. And a storm of deep social fragmentation, tearing at the fabric of communities worldwide. These interconnected crises define the world we live in today. And into this storm steps a generation unlike any before it, Generation Z. They are the true digital natives, having grown up entirely within the internet age, and they are the inheritors of this chaos. Unlike previous generations, they are not waiting politely for permission to fix the world. They are actively demanding and creating change. From the bustling streets of Kathmandu, where ancient traditions meet modern activism, to the vibrant universities of Dhaka, where young minds are ignited with purpose, the reckoning has truly begun. This global movement signifies a powerful shift as Gen Z rises to confront the challenges they've inherited. Gen Z, born roughly between 1997 and 2012, has never known a world without the internet. This constant digital connection has profoundly shaped their worldview, providing immediate access to information and fostering a global perspective from their earliest years. They've grown up with climate change as a looming certainty, not a distant threat or a theoretical concept. They've witnessed firsthand the devastating impacts of economic collapses, the prolonged suffering of endless wars, and the unprecedented levels of political polarization that define our modern era. The constant stream of information, while undeniably empowering them with knowledge and connectivity, has also imprinted on them a profound sense of urgency. This urgency is often accompanied by a deep sense of despair as they grapple with the scale of the problems they face and the perceived inaction of those in power. They carry the immense weight of an unsustainable future, a future they unequivocally did not create. Yet, despite this, they are now expected to inherit these complex problems and find the solutions to fix them, a burden that shapes their collective identity and drives their activism. And the first, most visceral manifestation of this profound burden is their undeniable fury at a system that consistently fails to address the fundamental threats to their very existence. This anger is not fleeting, it is a deep-seated response to perceived betrayal and neglect. From the rapidly melting glaciers of the Himalayas, a stark symbol of climate change's immediate impact, to the rising seas threatening the delicate ecosystems of the Sundarbans, Gen Z understands that climate change is not a debate. It is their lived reality. They experience its consequences daily, making it an undeniable truth. And their patience with empty platitudes and delayed promises has completely evaporated. We are now seeing this fury erupt with increasing frequency and intensity on the streets across the developing world, where the impacts of climate change are often most acutely felt. Youth are demanding immediate action on critical issues like pervasive air pollution and extreme heat, which directly affect their health and well-being. Their protests often involve direct action, such as blocking traffic or staging sit-ins, to ensure their voices are heard and their demands are met. These aren't merely isolated incidents or sporadic outbursts of frustration. These are connected tremors of a global earthquake, signaling a fundamental shift in how young people engage with and demand accountability from their leaders and institutions. They are demanding immediate, systemic change that addresses the root causes of these crises, not just symbolic gestures or superficial reforms. They view the continued inaction of governments and corporations as a direct betrayal of their future, a future that is being jeopardized by current policies. But Gen Z's discontent extends far beyond the critical issue of climate change. It encompasses a broad spectrum of anxieties that define their generation. It's about the pervasive economic precarity they face, the crushing weight of student debt, the seemingly insurmountable challenge of unaffordable housing, and the elusive promise of stable, well-paying jobs in an increasingly competitive global market. It's also profoundly about systemic injustices, the persistent racial, gender, and social inequalities that are not only prevalent, but are also amplified and brought into sharp focus by their hyper-connected world. They use digital platforms to expose and challenge these deep-seated inequities, advocating for a more just and equitable society for all. Furthermore, it's about the critical issue of mental health, a generation grappling with unprecedented levels of anxiety, stress, and loneliness. These challenges are often exacerbated by the very digital tools that connect them, creating a complex interplay between connection and isolation in their daily lives. Despite these immense challenges, Gen Z actively leverages these same digital tools to mobilize, to advocate for meaningful change, and to build resilient communities that support their collective well-being and tirelessly promote social justice. They are a generation united by purpose, looking forward with determination to shape a better world. We've witnessed the profound anger of a generation inheriting a world grappling with unprecedented challenges, from climate change to economic inequality. But to truly grasp the extent of their influence and the depth of their commitment, it is essential to understand the innovative and often unconventional methods they employ to drive change. This is a fundamentally different form of activism compared to previous generations. The traditional picket signs and megaphones of their parents' era have largely been replaced by digital interfaces and encrypted communication. Marches and demonstrations are now meticulously organized and coordinated through secure, private applications, reflecting a new era of digital mobilization. In this new landscape, a powerful revolution can be ignited not by a printed pamphlet or a lengthy manifesto, but by a concise, impactful 15-second video shared across social media platforms. This is the compelling and evolving story of the digital frontline, where technology empowers a new wave of social and political action. For many years, established institutions and older generations largely dismissed platforms like TikTok and Instagram as mere sources of entertainment and frivolous distractions. This perception, however, proved to be a colossal miscalculation, underestimating the transformative potential of these digital spaces. Gen Z, a generation inherently fluent in digital communication, has masterfully weaponized these platforms. They have transformed memes, viral trends, and short-form video content into incredibly potent tools for political education, raising awareness, and mobilizing vast numbers of people for various causes. Consider the recent student safety protests that erupted across India, a powerful example of this new wave of activism. Traditional news media outlets were notably slow to acknowledge and report on these burgeoning movements, often lagging behind the rapid pace of online dissemination. However, the movement rapidly gained momentum and exploded online, with coordination occurring almost entirely through viral hashtags and compelling Instagram stories. These were frequently shared and amplified by popular influencers, who effectively bypassed traditional media gatekeepers and reached millions. This digital approach allows activists to bypass official narratives and disseminate critical information to millions of individuals in a matter of hours, rather than days or weeks. A single, emotionally resonant and powerful video can now achieve what once required weeks of conventional, on-the-ground organizing and extensive logistical planning. This emergent form of activism possesses another critical characteristic that deeply unsettles and terrifies the establishment: its often completely decentralized nature. Unlike traditional movements, there is frequently no single identifiable point of control or leadership. Consequently, there is no single, charismatic leader for authorities to arrest and silence, nor is there a central office or headquarters to shut down and dismantle. This lack of a central authority makes traditional methods of suppression largely ineffective against these movements. Instead, these movements manifest as leaderless swarms, organizing organically and horizontally through secure, encrypted messaging applications such as Telegram and Signal. This distributed structure fosters resilience and makes them incredibly difficult to disrupt. Even if authorities manage to remove several key nodes or individuals from this decentralized network, the remaining connections instantly reroute and adapt. The network, by its very design, remains strong and intact, demonstrating its inherent resilience and adaptability in the face of external pressure. The massive anti-corruption protests that swept Bangladesh, for instance, serve as a prime example of this decentralized model. These protests had no single identifiable figurehead or central organizing committee, making them particularly challenging for authorities to manage. They were instead a collective expression of widespread anger and frustration, meticulously coordinated by thousands of small, often anonymous groups communicating through secure digital channels. This grassroots coordination allowed for rapid mobilization and sustained pressure. This decentralized structure makes these movements incredibly resilient and almost impossible for authorities to predict, infiltrate, or effectively decapitate. The absence of a single point of failure ensures their continued operation even under intense scrutiny and pressure. The fundamental question arises: how do you effectively negotiate with a viral hashtag that represents collective sentiment? How do you arrest an abstract idea or a powerful message that is spreading like wildfire through millions of private, encrypted chats and direct messages? However, the very same digital tools and platforms that empower Gen Z and give them their formidable influence also render them exquisitely vulnerable. This digital battlefield is a double-edged sword, presenting both immense opportunities and significant risks. They're operating and fighting on a digital battlefield that is ultimately owned and controlled by giant, powerful corporations and constantly monitored by sophisticated state surveillance apparatuses. This creates an inherent power imbalance and significant risks for activists. Every single post, every seemingly innocuous, and every private message exchanged can potentially be collected and transformed into a valuable data point within a vast government surveillance database. This constant data collection poses a significant threat to privacy and security. Furthermore, these digital spaces are susceptible to manipulation. Misinformation campaigns and state-sponsored trolls can actively hijack their hashtags, infiltrate their online communities, and deliberately sow division and discord among activists, undermining their efforts. Beyond external threats, the constant exposure to online hate, cyberbullying, and the relentless pressure to be perpetually engaged and responsive takes a severe and often unacknowledged mental toll on young activists, leading to burnout and psychological stress. While Gen Z has undeniably mastered the art of digital warfare and leveraged these tools effectively, the establishment is rapidly learning and adapting. They are beginning to fight back with their own sophisticated digital weapons and counter-strategies, escalating the conflict. In the upcoming part of this series, we will delve deeper into how the old guard, the established powers, are responding to this new form of activism. We will explore why this dynamic is rapidly escalating into a full-blown generational conflict, with profound implications for the future of social and political change. We've seen how Gen Z wages its battles on the digital frontline, using speed, memes, and leaderless swarms. This generation has redefined activism, leveraging the interconnectedness of the digital age to mobilize quickly and disseminate their messages globally, often catching traditional institutions off guard with their innovative approaches. For a time, the establishment was caught off guard, dismissing them as kids on their phones, a temporary, noisy distraction. They underestimated the power of decentralized movements and the rapid spread of information, viewing these digital protests as fleeting trends rather than significant socio-political shifts. That time is over. The old guard has awakened, and they are fighting back with the full, formidable power of the state, employing sophisticated strategies and resources to counter what they now perceive as a serious threat to the existing order. This counteroffensive marks a new phase in the ongoing struggle between generations and ideologies. The establishment's first counterattack is technological. Governments around the world are now using the very tools of the digital age against the activists, turning the internet into a battleground for control and narrative. This involves a range of tactics, from surveillance to information manipulation, all designed to neutralize digital dissent. Sophisticated AI programs monitor social media for protest keywords and influential accounts, creating a digital dragnet to identify and track activists. State-sponsored troll farms are deployed to spread disinformation, hijack hashtags with spam, and create artificial division within the movements, effectively sowing discord and confusion among protesters. These tactics aim to undermine the credibility and unity of Gen Z's digital campaigns. And when digital suppression isn't enough, they pulled a plug. As documented by digital rights groups like Access Now, targeted internet shutdowns have become a common tactic to demobilize protesters from Asia to Africa. Countries like Iran, Gabon, Cuba, and Myanmar have all utilized internet blackouts as a tool of repression, effectively cutting off communication and coordination among activists. China's Great Firewall serves as a prime example of sophisticated internet censorship, limiting access to information and preventing political dissent on a massive scale. During the recent student protests in Nepal, the government didn't just shut down the internet. Sources claim they used deepfake technology to create fake, compromising videos of protest leaders in an attempt to discredit them. This advanced form of digital manipulation aims to erode public trust in activist leaders and sow doubt about the legitimacy of their causes, highlighting the evolving and increasingly deceptive nature of state-sponsored counteractivism. The digital frontline is no longer a one-sided battle, but a complex and evolving conflict where both sides leverage technology. However, the conflict is not just technological, it is profoundly psychological, rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding and clash of values between different generations. It is a profound, almost unbridgeable disconnect between two generations with two different realities. The older generations, the baby boomers and Gen X who built the current global system, often see Gen Z's demands not as valid critiques, but as naive idealism, or worse, ingratitude. This generational gap is characterized by differing priorities, with older generations often prioritizing economic growth and stability, while Gen Z emphasizes sustainability and social justice. They have more opportunities than any generation in history, one European minister recently said, yet all they do is complain. This sentiment reflects a common perception among older leaders who struggle to comprehend the unique challenges and anxieties faced by Gen Z, often dismissing their concerns as unwarranted or exaggerated. Here in Pakistan, this disconnect is painfully clear. A generation that grew up with the existential threats of political instability and the war on terror has a very different definition of progress than a generation that grew up with the existential threats of global connectivity and climate anxiety. These divergent experiences shape their worldviews and priorities, leading to a fundamental misunderstanding of each other's motivations and demands. They are not speaking the same language, and this is the establishment's greatest blunder. By dismissing, ignoring, and actively suppressing Gen Z's legitimate concerns, they are not crushing the movement. Instead, they are inadvertently radicalizing it, pushing a generation that seeks dialogue towards more confrontational approaches. This failure to engage substantively with young people risks alienating them further from traditional political processes. When peaceful, digital protest is met with surveillance, censorship, and contempt, it pushes an entire generation towards more extreme conclusions. The constant monitoring of online activities, the blocking of information, and the dismissive attitude from authorities can transform initial frustration into deep-seated anger and a desire for more drastic change. This suppression, rather than quelling dissent, often fuels it. The demands become less negotiable, shifting from calls for reform to demands for systemic overhaul. The tactics become more disruptive, moving beyond online petitions to direct action and civil disobedience. The trust in existing institutions evaporates completely as young people lose faith in the ability or willingness of established systems to address their concerns, leading to a profound sense of disillusionment. The old guard believes it is restoring order by imposing control and suppressing dissent. In reality, they are pouring fuel on a fire, intensifying the very conflict they seek to extinguish. They are turning a generation of hopeful activists who initially sought peaceful change into a generation of hardened revolutionaries, ready to challenge the status quo with increasing resolve and less willingness to compromise. In our final part, we will ask the most important question of all: what happens next? Is there a path to reconciliation where established leaders engage substantively with Gen Z's concerns and acknowledge systemic failures? Or is a full-blown generational war now inevitable, a consequence of continued misunderstanding and suppression? The future hinges on whether dialogue can replace dismissal and whether trust can be rebuilt. We have reached a dangerous inflection point, a critical moment where the future hangs in the balance. A generation armed with powerful digital tools, fueled by a righteous anger born from years of inaction and neglect, has met the unyielding force of an old order. This established order is desperate to maintain its control, its power, and its traditional ways, even as the world rapidly changes around it. This clash of generations and ideologies is creating unprecedented tension and uncertainty across the globe. The question is no longer if these two fundamentally different worlds will collide, but rather what the profound and lasting consequences will be in the aftermath of such a monumental clash. This isn't merely a political debate confined to legislative halls or partisan arguments. This is a generational crossroads, a pivotal moment in human history. The specific path we collectively choose to embark upon next will irrevocably define the entire trajectory of the 21st century, shaping societies, economies, and cultures for decades to come. While the establishment may still control the traditional levers of the state, Gen Z has strategically discovered and activated a new, incredibly powerful front in this ongoing conflict: the economy. Their influence isn't solely confined to street protests or social media campaigns. It is profoundly rooted in their collective wallets and their immense purchasing power. They have emerged as the largest, most influential consumer cohort in recorded history, wielding unprecedented economic leverage. Their deeply held values are not just influencing, but actively reshaping the global market at a breathtaking and unprecedented speed. What traditional media outlets often dismissively label as cancel culture is, in reality, a far more sophisticated and potent form of economic warfare. It is a deliberate and organized withdrawal of financial support from entities that do not align with their ethical and moral standards, demonstrating a powerful new form of consumer activism. Gen Z actively rewards companies that genuinely align with their core values, such as unwavering commitment to sustainability, transparent ethical sourcing practices, and a strong stance on social justice issues. Conversely, they punish those corporations that fail to meet these standards, demonstrating a ruthless efficiency in their economic decisions. This generation's collective purchasing power is a formidable force, driving significant shifts in corporate behavior and market trends. Corporations, now more acutely afraid of alienating their vast customer base than of governmental regulations, are pivoting their strategies at a pace far exceeding that of politicians. They are desperately trying to prove their ethical credentials, investing heavily in marketing campaigns and operational changes to demonstrate their commitment to sustainability, fair labor practices, and social responsibility. This fear of consumer backlash is a powerful catalyst for change in the corporate world. However, protest and boycotts, while impactful, alone do not fundamentally change the world in the long term. The smartest and most strategic members of this generation understand this crucial distinction. They are now beginning to transition from mere protest to actively seizing and wielding power. They are no longer content with merely shouting from outside the formidable walls of the establishment. Instead, they are systematically infiltrating it from within, bringing their values and vision to key positions. We are witnessing the undeniable rise of a new generation of dynamic politicians, innovative entrepreneurs, dedicated lawyers, and groundbreaking scientists. These individuals are not just participating in the existing system, they are actively changing it from within, bringing fresh perspectives and a renewed sense of purpose to their respective fields. Their collective efforts are driving systemic transformation across various sectors. Even here in Pakistan, a vibrant new wave of Gen Z entrepreneurs is leveraging cutting-edge technology to solve deeply entrenched, age-old problems that have plagued communities for decades. They are meticulously creating intuitive mobile applications that directly connect local farmers to broader markets, effectively bypassing corrupt and inefficient middlemen who have historically exploited them. This direct connection empowers farmers and ensures fairer prices for their produce. Furthermore, these innovative entrepreneurs are diligently building sophisticated fintech solutions specifically designed for a generation that has largely lost faith in the outdated and often inaccessible traditional banking systems. They are not passively waiting for the existing system to miraculously fix its inherent flaws. Instead, they are proactively constructing an entirely new, more equitable and efficient financial infrastructure from the ground up, tailored to modern needs. This brings us to the final, most crucial and pressing question of our time. Is a generational war truly inevitable? Perhaps not. The establishment, often referred to as the Old Guard, still has a profound choice to make. It can stubbornly continue to fight what is ultimately a losing battle against the unstoppable forces of the future, a path that will undoubtedly lead to even more widespread chaos, deeper societal division, and increased radicalization among the populace. Alternatively, the establishment can choose a different path. It can begin to genuinely listen to the voices of this new generation. It can choose to perceive Gen Z not as an existential threat to its power, but rather as the planet's vital immune system. This generation is uniquely equipped with advanced digital tools, unparalleled global connectivity, and a clear moral compass to effectively address the myriad existential crises that the Old Guard inadvertently created and then largely ignored for far too long. The world must urgently and comprehensively address the critical issues championed by Gen Z, not merely to appease a vocal or noisy generation, but because their core concerns, such as climate justice, economic fairness, fundamental digital rights, and pervasive mental well-being are, in fact, the defining survival issues of the entire 21st century. These are not niche problems, but universal challenges that impact everyone. To ignore their concerns and their calls for change is to willfully ignore reality itself, with potentially catastrophic consequences. This movement is not just another protest, it is a vital rescue mission for our shared future. And the generation that inherited the storm, the one that grew up amidst these escalating crises, may very well be the only one uniquely capable of leading us out of it and towards a more sustainable and equitable world.